Awesome. And we are recording. So thank you so much to those of you who are here in person, being on Zoom, and those of you watching the recording for this webinar on keywords. Because as I said in all of my promotional stuff, and you've probably heard me say it in person, keywords are the cornerstone of any SEO strategy. It is what people use to find you. So if you're not already familiar with what a keyword is, what that means is keywords, phrases that you use in your content that match the words and phrases people are using, they're putting into Google to look for you. So that's what a keyword is. So before we get a little more into this, I am going to give a brief rundown of who I am, why you should care about anything that I have to say. I stumbled my way into content marketing and SEO, totally fell into SEO um, through the writing side, right? So when I handle SEO for my clients, it is from the content side of SEO. There is a technical side to SEO, so I tend not to focus on that as much. I like to say I know just enough to be dangerous about that technical side of SEO, but it's not really my forte. So I actually got started, majored in English and psychology in college, perfect degree for content marketing. Had no clue what content marketing was, did not know this was an option, thought I wanted to work in publishing. But I had the fortune or misfortune, depending on how you look at it, to graduate in 2009, right after the job market crashed. So there were no jobs to be had in publishing. So I answered phones for a few years, something to just to try to pay, it almost paid the bills. Found myself between jobs at one point, and my roommate at the time, her dad, who was an attorney, was awesome and offered to give me stuff to do around his office until I got back on my feet. And one of the things he needed was someone to write blog posts for his law firm. And he knew I had a strong writing background, so he offered me the gig. And I was like, what? I can get paid to write? Seriously? Yeah, sign me up. So I jumped at that chance and started writing for him, and then for an associate of his, and then for some friends of mine. And it just kept growing from there. So next thing I knew, I was able to ditch the day job and take this full time and make a living writing for people. How cool is that? So if you had told me when I started that I would need to learn SEO in order to keep doing this professionally, I think I would have been too scared to even try. I would have just been like, no thanks. I'll just go back to answering phones because that sounds really scary and intimidating, and I don't want to. And then I hear this a lot from people when I talk about SEO. It sounds like some mysterious dark art that only a select few people can understand. Fortunately for me, I ended up stumbling my way into content marketing or from through SEO, starting with keywords. A client of mine, actually, I think just for funsies, did some keyword research for me, took a screenshot and sent it to me. And I was fascinated. I was hooked right away. I was like, wait, people are looking for this word more than this word, even though they mean basically the same thing. And that's it. I was down the rabbit hole, never found my way back out. So, much to my surprise, I find SEO one of the most fascinating and most fun parts of my job. But like I said, lots of people are very perplexed and confused and intimidated by SEO. So I like to give these webinars, write my blog posts, put as much content out there as I can to explain how SEO actually works so that you all can understand that it's really not that scary. It's actually pretty basic. So there's a lot of different components to SEO. Like I said, there's the content side, there's the technical side. I will touch a tiny bit on the technical side in this webinar, but again, I will make it really easy for you to understand. Even on the content side, there's more to it than keywords, but like I said, this is the cornerstone. If you can get the keywords down right, you will be so much better off in terms of your SEO strategy. So, uh, what does that mean? How do we do that? Oh, and something I wanted to touch on was the fact that you should keep track of what words you are ranking for. So if you are creating content for your website on a regular basis, you are ranking for certain keywords, regardless of whether or not you realize it. I did this for a client recently where I was looking at the keywords she was ranking for. And one of her top ranking keywords was something that was completely unrelated to what she's doing now. It was from something she had been doing in her website or in her business years ago and had stopped doing and had transitioned a long time ago, no longer wanted anything to do with that, but had not updated her website accordingly. So she was still ranking for that keyword. So even if you don't think of yourself as like a high ranking website, or not getting tons of traffic, so why does this matter? Well, it matters because you could be ranking for something that is completely unrelated to what you're trying to do. And maybe that's why you're not getting a lot of traffic. Could also be why you're not getting the right traffic. I hear this a lot from clients who say they get low quality leads online, people who just want a vendor, just want a commodity. They're not really interested in your expertise. Well, that's because A, of the content on your website, as well as the keywords you are targeting, whether you're aware of it or not. So now I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. There we go. Screen share over my keyword research tools. So there are a whole bunch of keyword research tools out there. I always like to use SERPstat. This is my favorite. SEMrush is another popular one. Moz, spelled M-O-Z, is another popular one. Ubersuggest is another one that we'll look at a little bit later, but I did a lot of research into the different keyword research tools and SEO tools available, and I found SERPstat was the one that is pretty reasonably priced, so that's a bonus. It also has some of the most accurate data. You will find different tools give you different numbers when you search the exact same keyword, so that's something to be aware of as well. So we are going to go ahead and start just by going ahead and searching a keyword. Does anyone want to volunteer a keyword? Anything you're interested in searching right now?
Okay, I'll go for one. What about accessibility?
Accessibility. All right, good keyword. So what all this means, volume 40.5K. So that means that we have an average of 40,500 people searching this keyword per month. So that's a really good keyword. PPC, CPC, I'll get to those a little bit later. The next thing I always look at is keyword difficulty. So what this means is how much has this word or phrase already been used across the internet. So 100, it's always a number out of 100. 100 being everyone is using this word. It's completely saturated the internet. You have no chance of ranking for it. One being no one else is using this keyword. So if you use it even a little bit, you will rank at the top of Google for this keyword. So I always like something obviously below 50. I tend to target below 30 if I can, definitely below 40. Anything above 40, I think go, no. This keyword, I will show you some other keywords a little bit later and the ways in which this number will change colors. Once it gets above 2025, it will turn from green to yellow, which is like, it's not a bad keyword, but it's not great. So tread with caution. And once it gets above 50, it turns red, which is that nope, stay away from this keyword. By the way, it's not that you can't use keywords that have a high keyword difficulty or a low volume. It's not like including them in your content is going to do anything bad for your SEO. It's just not, you're not going to rank for that particular keyword. Just want to put that little disclaimer out there. Now, PPC competition and CPC. PPC stands for pay per click. So I look at volume and I look at keyword difficulty because those are both organic. We're just creating content. We're not trying to pay for any online ads. These are the numbers you're going to look at. If you are going to pay for Google ads, these are the numbers you want to look at. Your PPC, pay per click. So you pay every time someone clicks on your ad. If they see it, your ad, but they don't click through, you don't pay for that. If they click on it and get through to your website and they don't buy anything, you still have to pay for that click. So if Google ads are something that you care about, this could be something that you look at. PPC competition percent. Again, this is the percentage of, it's an idea of how many people are also paying for ads using this keyword. CPC is usually a little bit is cost per click, right? So you will spend on average $1.67 per click, which is not super high. It is a little on the high end, depending on the keyword. Some keywords have really high CPCs. I've seen some below $1. So 167, not terrible, not great. But again, just be aware of if that's your CPC, you have to know how many people who are clicking through, what's the percentage that you need to buy from you in order to make the ad worthwhile. So these are both things. And CPC is also on for Google ads, it's on a bidding basis. So normally people bid like, I'll pay $2 per click, and someone else goes, I'll pay $3 per click. All of your ads will exist, but the more you pay, the higher you rank in the ads. If you bid a little bit lower or like way lower than anyone else, you'll be like down at the bottom of the page. So that's why CPC matters. Now, we don't have data for, oh, we do have data for trends. Normally there's like a trend factor here, and there doesn't seem to be enough data on this keyword, probably because this one is a little bit newer. So some other things I like to look at is the related keywords. Usually there's some related paid keywords as well. These are all organic. So if we're looking at some more specific things about accessibility, we can look at student accessibility services. We can look at website accessibility, checker accessibility, public accessibility, and accessibility heuristics. We do get an idea here of what the volume is, this number, right? So this number is significantly lower than this, but no, it's higher, sorry. So 135K is great, CPC, but we don't know what this word is, or that score is. We have to click on this or just go up and manually enter it in to see what the keyword difficulty is. So this is PPC competition, CPC is way lower. CPC and keyword difficulty are you'll usually see a bit of a correlation there. They're not directly related, but usually if you see a lower keyword difficulty, you'll also see a lower CPC. Not always. So if you are interested in ads, do double check that. But that is just something that I've noticed, is that even though they're not directly related, you do tend to see both of them moving in the same direction together. So one of the things I want to point out is that accessibility, it had a lower volume, it had a high keyword difficulty. It was still a really good keyword. It's really unusual, not that unusual, but it's not super normal to see a keyword that has a volume that is tens of thousands per month. That is also a keyword difficulty of less than 20. That's an awesome keyword that you absolutely want to target if it's relevant to your industry. This though, we see this is weird because it's a longer keyword. So we've got the short tail keywords, which are 1 to 2 words. And then we have the long tail keywords, which are 3 to 5 words, right? So usually with the long tail keywords, you'll see a lower volume, but also a lower keyword difficulty. So this is weird in that we actually have a significantly higher volume and a lower keyword difficulty. So that's a really awesome keyword. So that's really good to know. So the benefit to the long tail keywords, even when they do have a lower volume, is that, like I said, they also have a lower keyword difficulty and they're super specific, right? Someone looking for accessibility, that's actually a pretty broad term, and they could be looking for all kinds of different accessibility information or services or what have you. So having student accessibility services, now we're getting more specific. Now the people who are looking for this, know what they need. They have a better idea of what they're looking for. It's not so general. It's like, this is what I need. So that's why the keyword difficulty tends to be a little bit lower, is because, again, you also have people using that word who are specifically providing this service and or providing this information. So I always like a good mix of short tail versus long tail keywords throughout my content. Definitely at least one good long tail keyword. I do tend to make my target keyword a long tail keyword, especially for like a blog post, just because when you write so many blog posts, you do tend to get a lot of content about the same thing, or they're about subtopics within a broader category. So you don't want that broad keyword to be in all of your content, because then you end up competing with yourself to compete for that keyword. That's called keyword cannibalization. And what ends up happening is all your content using that keyword gets downgraded in the Google searches because you're competing with yourself. So you don't want to do that. So that's the other benefit of long tail keywords, is that it allows you to really dive into a topic and gives you a better chance of ranking. So this is something I always explore, is the related keywords, especially if the first thing I search doesn't give me the stats that I want in terms of volume and keyword difficulty. I'll go straight to the related keywords. Sometimes I'll go to the paid keywords. The next thing I look at is competitors in organic search, because I want to make sure that this is relevant. Sometimes, like, accessibility is super broad, right? Are we talking about building accessibility? Are we talking about website accessibility? Are we talking about student accessibility services? Like, what kind of accessibility are we talking about? So if I search a keyword and the competitors in the organic search are not at all related, here we have a bunch of colleges, right? uvm.edu, ucf.edu, right? This makes sense that these are all ranking for a search term about student accessibility. Totally makes sense. But I have absolutely had it where I search for a keyword and the competitors in the organic search are not even close to what I'm trying to talk about. That gives me a really good indication that there is just, there's content in here that is other than what I'm trying to talk about. So, oh, that's right, I was going to talk about that. So that's long tail versus short tail keywords. And then I want to go over here to answer the public, which is another one of my favorite tools. What are we going to search here? Let's just search accessibility again. Keep it simple. See what comes up. One of the things this does is you can specify whether you're looking at Google or Bing or YouTube or even TikTok or Amazon, which is pretty cool because you're going to get different results based on, oh, no, I didn't actually want to search for Bing. I wanted Google. I didn't mean to click on that. Now it's going to take a while to load, but it says, you can see over here, it's giving me an ad, register for free and get free daily searches. So you can get 3 daily searches for free. If you want any more than that, you're going to have to pay more than that. So that's just something to be aware of. I also like, there we go. Go away. List. So it shows up in that wheel initially because it looks really cool when you search it, but you can't actually read that. So you can just go here and click list, and now you can actually read all of the questions. So what this does is you put in your keyword or phrase, and it gives you all of the questions asked across, in this case, Google. No, in this case, Bing. Yeah, oh well. You can go to Google. So you know how this works. That's the point. So you can look across all of the questions that people are asking across the internet using this word or phrase if you decide to use a longer phrase. So accessibility Microsoft, that's an interesting question. So this does have a search volume. Let's see, this is 40. Okay, so that's actually pretty close to what we found, was 40.5K. Awesome. Oh, and you can see this says that's a really good keyword because it's above 3,600 searches per month. Cost per click is a lot higher than we found. We were at like 167. It does not, I think you have to pay to show a keyword difficulty. So because Neil Patel has his own keyword research tool, he ties some of this into whatchamacallit, Answer the Public. I don't 100% trust Neil Patel's data. Like I said, I did a lot of research on my keyword research tools before I invested in one. And SERPstat, like I said, A, better price, B, better data, win-win. So you can check out, the search volume, the CPC, but I always take that with a grain of salt. Answer the Public is what I always come to when I am stuck on ideas and I just don't know what to write about next. quick word about ChatGPT, which I forgot to mention earlier, is the fact that ChatGPT, so I've seen people using ChatGPT as a keyword research tool. They go to ChatGPT and ask it for a list of keywords, which is a terrible idea because that's not what ChatGPT was designed for. ChatGPT is designed to tell you what people are already saying across the internet. So it can give you a whole bunch of keywords in a related industry or topic that people are already using, which means you should not be using. It won't be able to tell you how many people are searching for those words because it doesn't know. It wasn't designed to do that. It was only designed to scrape content from the internet and repurpose it for you. So that's what it's going to do. So I am all for using ChatGPT to create a rough draft, to, again, come up with content ideas. If you kind of know what you want to write about, but you're stuck and you're not quite sure how to get started, I always use it to help me get over that hump. It is awesome for that. That's about it. It is not an SEO tool. It was not designed to be an SEO tool. Do not use ChatGPT for keyword research. Like I said, my favorite is SERPstat. There is no free version. There's a free trial of SERPstat, but after a week or so, you have to pay to use it. Ubersuggest over here does have a free version that gives you 3 searches per day. Just not a whole lot, but also if you're not doing a lot of keyword research, that's not terrible. And I don't actually know what the price point. I do know if you have to do more searches per day, it's gonna make you yeah, it's gonna charge you. So something that I do when I'm short on ideas is I will take a short phrase or a keyword and bring it over to answerthepublic.com and be like, oh, what are people looking for here, right? So accessibility requirements could be a good keyword. I will then always take that back here to my keyword research tool to see what it tells me, because like I said, I don't trust Ubersuggest's data. I do like a volume over 100. I know it's not as impressive as the 40,500 searches per month, but I'll take it again, especially if it's super specific. The problem I have here is that the keyword difficulty, see, and like I said, it's above 20. So it's going to show you this color in orange, kind of an orangish yellow, right? So it's kind of we're not going to tell you to stop yet on this keyword, but it's be a little wary. CPC is also higher. PPC competition is higher. So that's something to be aware of. Is we've got the worst of all worlds here. The number we want to be higher is lower, and the numbers we want to be lower are higher. So this, if I were searching something like accessibility and then I was looking at accessibility requirements, this would be like, I'm going to go back to accessibility and see if I can find something more relevant with better data. I'm not going to do that now because the point of this is just to explain to you how all of this works. So now that we have a good idea of how all of this works, I am going to stop sharing because we are done talking about that tool. And I am going to talk a little bit about the different types of keywords. So the first one is informational, right? That's like, what is accessibility? What do I need to know about accessibility? Those are informational keywords. Someone is looking for information. They're not looking to buy. They're not looking to hire anyone. They're just looking for some information. Those are all of the keywords that I put on my blog, right? Anytime you get those how-tos or 3 reasons to do such and such, or why should I worry about XYZ, right? Those are all great topics for blog posts. So next up, we've got navigational. That's when you know the title of a company, the name of a company, you're aware of it, but you can't remember the URL, or you're just too lazy to put the URL into the URL bar. So you just type it into Google. Yolanda, I see you laughing, Yolanda, because you know exactly what I'm talking about. I honestly do this all the time with Amazon, and I even have Amazon bookmarked. I don't care. It's faster and easier for me to type it into, I have too many bookmarks. That's my other problem. It's faster and easier for me to type Amazon into Google, and it will automatically pull up Amazon.com for me. Great. I can click through, find what I need. Super easy. That is navigational. I know the site I'm looking for. I know what I want, but I'm too lazy. Or maybe it's like, I kind of remember the company. I'm not sure what their URL is. I don't have it bookmarked, but I know the company was something writing services, right? So I'm just going to type it into Google search. So that is a navigational keyword. Transactional, otherwise known as commercial keywords, that is ready to buy or almost ready to buy. That's when you find like best, I don't know, snowshoes or best or cheapest roller skates or um, most durable shoes. I do that a lot because my dog drags me all over the neighborhood and I go through shoes a lot more quickly than I ever used to. So I need durable shoes. So if I am looking for something that is super durable, it's because I'm ready to buy. I'm not thinking about shoes. I don't need to know more information about shoes. I need to know where I can get the shoes that are going to fulfill my needs. That is a navigational or a transactional search. So the reason you need to know about the different kinds, first of all, how to find the different kinds. If you have a keyword and you're like, not sure if this is transactional or informational. Sometimes it's super obvious, sometimes not so much. One thing I would look at is, again, those competitors in organic search that your keyword research tool is going to show you. See what those link to. Are they linking to blog posts? Are they linking to sales pages? Are they linking to something else? That is going to give you a good idea of what kind of keyword that is. And then I always just go straight to Google and type in that keyword and see what Google pulls up. If Google pulls up that carousel of ads at the top that we've all seen, that's a transactional keyword. That's people are looking for to buy something. And I have absolutely had that where I'm looking for information on something and Google pulls up that carousel and I'm like, okay, I'm not looking to buy this, but good to know that lots of people are. So this should inform where your keywords are going in your content. Informational keywords need to be going definitely on your blog post. Sometimes on some of your landing pages. Your sales pages need to have those transactional slash commercial, because if people are looking for you, if they're looking to hire, don't lead them to a blog post because that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for a product or a service. So make sure they are finding a page that is about that product or service. So that's what you need to know about where to put those keywords. So with that said, I am going to go back to sharing my screen so I can talk a little bit more specifically about where to put your keywords. There we go. So I just pulled up this blog that I constantly have in draft because it's a really good way to use blogging as an example. So I have, did I put a, don't think I put a, no, I did not. Okay. My website is on WordPress. So all of this is very WordPress based. You can do some of this stuff on other things like Wix and Squarespace and whatnot. But WordPress is my favorite because I just find it so easy to do this stuff. So where you need to put your keyword, first and foremost, your title. It should absolutely always be in your title of your blog post. So I don't know, let's say blogging is not about you is our keyword here, right? So I would never say never. I think I've had a few times where I've gotten lazy and I've just had my target keyword as the whole title. I tend to make it a little bit longer. And there's a whole other thing to be said about optimizing headlines. But in general, you want your keyword, you want to give people an idea of what the content is about, and you also want an emotional component. So blogging is not about you, colon. Now, is this not working? Come on. I think my keyboard is dying on me. Blogging is not about you, colon, why you should put your audience front and center in your content. That's a long headline, but you get the idea. So this, you really can't change anything about this. So for example, down here, we've got, you're going to write your introduction, right? Once upon a time. So over here, if we have our cursor somewhere on this line and we go up to this paragraph mark, right? We see this is a paragraph. We could say, I want this to be a heading. Okay, now it's a heading. And you'll see right here that it's H2, which means it is the top level of subheading. So your title is always going to be H1. Your WordPress takes care of that automatically just by having you put this in the title space, which by the way, I will demonstrate by, if you're not familiar, come on. If you're not familiar with WordPress, it says add title in this space. So that's how you know that's the space for your title. So this is going to be H1. WordPress automatically takes care of that for you. If you want another heading, you're going to make it H2. And then let's say you want another heading. So tips for taking the ego out of blogging, right? Now this is your subheading to this subheading, right? So this is one below. So now it's H3. And we can just we can say, actually, no, this is H2 if we want, right? And then this, if that's H2, then this would be H3, right? And it goes all the way down to H6. I've never used H6. I have used H4. I've probably used H5 maybe once, but you know, that is how it works as far as making sure you've got these headings. If your website doesn't do this, you can do it yourself using HTML. Super easy, you guys. So here you just go to edit as HTML. Oh, come on. You're gonna make it hard for me? Okay, so all you have to do is add that little open hat, sideways hat, right? H2 class, block heading, and then close hat. And then you've got your title. And then you've got this and the slash H2 and then close hat at the end. That's it. That's all you need to do. And you can go right back to editing it visually. So you put in that HTML as long as it's in the right space where the HTML will show up accordingly on the published blog post. And it will show up as a headline. Don't just bold it. If you have now let's take, I don't know, let's take the introduction and turn it back into a paragraph. So I can bold this and well, it's not super bold, but it does look more like a heading, right? But you can tell it's not the same as this heading. It's not going to have the same HTML. Why do we care about HTML? Because that's what Google looks at. Google, yeah, strong. Okay, great. That's what makes it bold, but it's not a heading. Google, much like humans, is going to read your title, your URL first, and then it's going to scan those subheadings to get those subtitles to get an idea of what your content is all about. Then it's going to scan the rest of your content, all that filler content, the paragraphs, right? The meat of your post. It scans that last. So you really want your keyword front and center in the places where Google is looking for it first. That's going to be in your headline, in your subheadings, as well as over here in post, your excerpt. So you're going to want to make sure your keyword is in here. Your excerpt, again, because I use my handy dandy SEO tool that I have. It's a plugin I installed on my site. I do not use Yoast because Yoast encourages keyword stuffing, which means it really wants you to use your target keyword a lot before it's going to be like, okay, now you're good. By the time Yoast says you're good, Google is like, this is keyword stuffing. We don't like this. Keyword stuffing is just when you use a keyword a ton of times. When you want to talk about keywords, so here's the keyword. So keyword, blah, 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 keyword, right? We did have content like that back in the early days of SEO. It did work. It would show up when all Google cared about was matching search terms with keywords in content. But it's crappy content, and Google caught on and said, no, we're not directing our users to that content. So now if you get caught doing that, it can actually hurt your SEO. So that's one of the benefits of having a bunch of related keywords to each of your target keywords, is that you can mix it up with those synonyms throughout your content. And now you're also ranking for those other keywords, and you don't have to just stuff one keyword into your content over and over and over again. So that's why I don't use Yoast, because I don't like that it does that. The one I use here is AIO SEO. AIO stands for all in one. So it's all in one search engine optimization. What they do for me is we've got this meta description, and it's the post excerpt. So it's automatically going to use this content over here and put it here as the meta description. Meta description is another one of those things that, again, Google will look at before it dives into the meat of your content, as well as real people. It's the meta description is usually what shows up, that little bit of content that shows up just below the headline when your website shows up in Google. So that is SEO reasons, but also that's what real life people are going to look at to get a better idea of what this content is all about. I know I always look at that meta description and go, is the keyword that I just plugged in the meta description? If it is, I'm much more likely to click through, because now I have a better idea that it's relevant. Also, if it's the full keyword, right? Sometimes you're searching a long tail keyword and you get part of the keyword in there and you're like, no, that's not quite what I'm looking for, right? So if you are targeting a long tail keyword, absolutely put the whole long tail keyword here in the excerpt. I would make sure it's never much longer than this, right? So you want to make sure your keyword is in here. Google, so I do still recommend writing an excerpt, writing a meta description, making sure your keyword is in there. One of the problems, though, is that Google lately has been going, oh, well, we know better than you what content should be under your headline. So we're just going to take whatever content from your page we think is relevant to this search and have that show up as your meta description. And sometimes that works and sometimes not so much. So we might see some developments later on where the meta description we create is completely useless because Google would rather do it themselves. So take this with a grain of salt. But for now, I do still recommend creating your own meta description, optimizing it, making sure your keyword is in there. And I think that is everything. Yeah, we're at about 40 minutes now here. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. So if you are watching the recording and you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. You can find me over at AV Writing Services. That's my initials, Allison Verhalen. And you can reach me directly at info@AV Writing Services. Thanks so much.